This is CBC Here and Now.
Greg Priddy has been elected the new president of the FFAW. However, his contender says the process was unfair. That story ahead on Here and Now.
Still empty after all these years. Canopy Growth says it's working on next steps for this never-used massive facility. Coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. We start with COVID-19 and the arrival of a new subvariant. XBB.1.5 has been detected in the province. Now, this is a more contagious version of Omicron, but in a statement, the province's health department says there's no evidence it causes more severe disease. It is a concern, though, because it can evade immunity from vaccinations or previous infections. Health experts say vaccines still do a good job at preventing people from getting severely sick. Well, there's a new president of the Fisheries Union in the province. Greg Priddy was elected a short time ago. This comes after former President Keith Sullivan stepped down last month. Here Now's Heather Gillis is live tonight with the details. So Heather, tell us more about the voting results.
Thanks, Carolyn. Well, Greg Priddy, as you said, was elected not too long ago, and he did take the majority of the votes. He got 43 of the 63 eligible votes here tonight. However, this election hasn't been without controversy. Let's get to the candidates. Greg Priddy, Dave Callahan, and Jason Sullivan put their names forward to be president of the union. Earlier this week, the union disqualified Jason Sullivan, who had been involved with the breakaway union Fish NL. In a news release yesterday, the FFAW said they passed a resolution back in 2018 to prevent, quote, members of an organization looking to replace the FFAW unifor from running for elected positions. And they went on to say in that release that Sullivan, quote, continues to make vile and slanderous attacks on individuals, making it abundantly clear the type of character he embodies. Meanwhile, the FFAW endorsed Priddy for union president in a December 1st news release. Now, on December 1st, that was the same day that Keith Sullivan stepped down 1 year into his 3-year term as president of the FFAW. And because his resignation came in the middle of his term, now only the joint councils of about 60 people could cast a ballot for the new president rather than all of the members of the union. Meanwhile, the new president, Priddy, says he's ready to take on processors.
We're putting these companies, these fish merchants, on notice that if in fact they want to play the same trick they played last year in posting prices, that's something they did 40 years ago. They do that this year, they're going to be shut down. That's it.
And meanwhile, his contender, Callahan, who ran against Priddy in this election, says he only found out the day before yesterday about his candidacy as president for the presidency. He also says he couldn't get a list of contacts for those who were eligible to cast ballots, which prevented him from campaigning. And Callahan believes the entire membership should have had an opportunity to vote and calls the process unfair.
If the process itself were fair, and there was no attempt at maintaining control of the upper hand at the highest level in this union, then after the past president stepped down, they would not have been so quick to endorse one person to take this over and to use vacating the seat, I guess, basically as the reason for it, which is legit by the Constitution, nothing wrong done. Didn't allow for the entire membership of this union to be able to vote, and it should have.
Now, Priddy disagrees and says the process was fair. He also says that he will be meeting with the province soon, but says that the province has no vision for the fishery. Priddy also says that he intends to fulfill his term as president, which will last now until 2024. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Heather Gillis.
Well, it was pretty cold out there today, and a pretty cold evening right now as well. Actually pretty nice out though, other than that. Currently -6 with a wind out of the northwest around 30 kilometers per hour, and that is leading to a wind chill feeling more like minus 14. So if you do bundle up tonight, it'll be a beautiful evening to go and enjoy some of the cold weather. But we're sitting under an Arctic ridge of high pressure at the moment. That's what's funneling all of that cold air further south, especially up across Labrador, and that will stick with us at least through tomorrow, this cold air across eastern Newfoundland anyway. As far as Labrador is concerned, you'll see a bit of a warm up through Saturday, but that cold air will move right back in as we head into Sunday and continuing through the day on Monday. Now, right now, the winds are currently sustained pretty much somewhere between 20 to 30 kilometers per hour along the coast here. Nain, you're seeing some relief from that wind gusting around 56 kilometers per hour, but those winds will ease as we head through the night tonight. I'll get into the full forecast details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, it's a story that sent shockwaves throughout the province's health system. A woman goes to prison in Ontario for the death of her young son, but later turns up working as both a registered nurse and a licensed practical nurse at long-term care homes in this province without any licenses to do so. It's a tangled tale of death and deception that stretches from Hamilton to Bonavista, from St. John's to Gander. Here Now's Terry Roberts has been following this story and joins us now with a timeline of how we got here. Terry?
Yeah, well, Carolyn, look, let's start with the woman at the center of all this. Central Health identifies her as Lisa Driscoll, but she's also known as Lisa Strickland, age 43, roots in Bonavista, spent much of her life in Ontario. From what we gather, she worked as a practical nurse in Hamilton. Now let's walk through what we know, beginning with a deadly turn of events more than 5 years ago. Lisa Driscoll was living in Hamilton with her spouse. We believe she has multiple children. On the morning of September 17th, 2017, emergency responders were called to their home. Their 4-year-old son, Kane Driscoll, was dead when they arrived. Toxicology tests found lethal doses of prescription narcotics in the boy's body, an opioid prescribed to his mother, Lisa Driscoll. Exactly 3 months later, in December 2017, Hamilton police deemed Kane Driscoll's death a homicide. During the investigation, police learned that Lisa Driscoll has once again become pregnant. She's a suspect in her son's death, and they have concerns about the unborn child. So officers ask area hospitals in Hamilton to alert them once Driscoll gives birth. Now, based on media reports that we've reviewed, it appears Lisa Driscoll moved to Newfoundland in October 2018 when she learns what police have done. We believe that child was born here in this province. Now let's fast forward to February 2019. Hamilton police come to Newfoundland with a warrant. They arrest Lisa Driscoll in Bonavista and take her back to Ontario. She's initially charged with manslaughter in relation to the death of her son. Now, during a news conference to announce the charges, a Hamilton police officer had this to say: "There was no reason that child should have that narcotic, had that fatal dose. It should not have been in his system." Now, the manslaughter charges against Lisa Driscoll, well, they were eventually reduced to criminal negligence causing death, and Driscoll enters a guilty plea. In January 2021, she is sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. But because she spent so much time in custody before her sentencing, she spends just over 2 months behind bars. Now, this is where the focus shifts back to Newfoundland. We learned yesterday that Lisa Driscoll started working here at Chancellor Park in St. John's as an LPN in March 2021, just 2 months after her sentencing. She used the registration number of an LPN with a similar name to hers to get the job at the private nursing home. Now, this went undiscovered for 15 months. She was fired last June after the body that regulates LPNs in the province received a complaint. But this wasn't the end of it. A few months after being fired from Chancellor Park, Lisa Driscoll starts working here, Lakeside Homes in Gander. It's a public facility operated by Central Health, not as an LPN, but as a registered nurse. Now, that's a job that comes with responsibilities for medical care of patients, including administering drugs. She worked more than 24 shifts between August and November. She was once again fired after the body that regulates RNs received a complaint. Now, in both cases, Lisa Driscoll used the names of employees with a name similar to hers and hijacked license numbers to get past the vetting process.
Okay, such a complicated story, Terry. Where is Lisa Driscoll now?
Well, we don't know for sure. But we do know that the RNC and the RCMP are involved, that the licensing bodies for both the RNs and LPNs in this province, well, they've advised healthcare employers to tighten up their vetting processes. Now, we also learned something else new today. After initially refusing to answer, Eastern Health has finally confirmed that Lisa Driscoll did not work at Eastern Health. Still, many unanswered questions here, but we're told no one was harmed by Lisa Driscoll during her time at these nursing homes.
Thanks so much, Terry. Well, in other news, there are details tonight about a frightening incident in Central. Someone with a machete burst into an apartment in Grand Falls, Windsor yesterday morning just before 7:30. Police say one of the two people in the apartment hid while the other handed over jewelry after being threatened. No one was injured in the incident. The RCMP say the suspect, who was about 6 feet tall and muscular, left in a white four-door pickup, possibly a Dodge. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Well, gas prices are up a few cents today. The price is up just over 3 cents a litre, now sitting at $1.66 on the Northeast Avalon. Diesel went up by 5.3 cents, while furnace oil dropped just over a cent. In Labrador, prices are locked in now that winter fuel deliveries have been completed. The price of gas this winter ranges from $1.77 in Happy Valley Goose Bay to almost $2.10 along parts of the South Coast. Well, it's a white elephant on the White Hills of St. John's. More than 2 years after Canopy Growth pulled out, the massive structure built specifically to grow marijuana is still idle. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
From every angle, this place is big. Big because there were big plans for this building. It was built for Canopy Growth, the company behind the drive to legalize marijuana. It was here in St. John's, in Canopy's retail shop, Tweed, where the first legal pot was sold in Canada.
That's fantastic. Welcome, guys. Here, lean in, you get in the shot.
There you go.
Then the prohibition, guys. Stand up, man.
But the high didn't last. Weed is still legal, but Canopy's fortunes have changed. This week, the company announced it's now out of the retail side. With all that up in smoke, what about this place? It's a 230,000 square foot building that's ready to grow. The plan was to produce 18,000 kilograms of cannabis per year. Everything is here. A massive boiler room, an industrial-sized pump room, open concept office space, and this bright open staff lounge that's never been used. It was shuttered before any weed went to market. There were big dollars and big hopes rolled up into this $90 million facility. Canopy's own documents show the company committed to pay more than $24 million over 5 years to a numbered company that owns the land. Those documents also show Canopy has the option to purchase this production facility at the end of that 5-year period. This week, Canopy confirmed it's still leasing the land here, but the company said in an email that it isn't ready to talk about next steps yet. Recently, Canopy Growth sold a $40 million New Brunswick production facility to another cannabis company. But what's going to happen here at Canopy Growth's last toehold in Newfoundland is still a mystery. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
From an empty building in St. John's to one that's getting new life on the West Coast. An old Corner Brook pulp and paper building, the Human Resources building located across the street from the mill, is now being used for research in the community thanks to almost $9 million of government money. Here Now's Troy Turner dropped by for the launch.
Just a few years ago, the building was in a state of disrepair. Enter a partnership with Memorial University, Colleges of the North Atlantic, and all 3 levels of government. And Corner Brook Pulp and Paper's former HR facility has seen a high-tech makeover. The new Corner Brook Center for Research and Innovation opened today on the West Coast. For the mill, it's a win-win.
We transfer a lot of our lands to the government and all that stuff. So for us, it goes on both sides. If we are supported in some key areas, strategic areas with the government, we basically have the same approach when the government here needs something. we're very open.
The mill is hoping the center helps find uses for waste and develops new products. It will continue to maintain the building, while Memorial and the college will use it to support research and development and business diversification.
Not just actually the tech, but also the knowledge of faculty and students, graduate students, and also Navigate and its business incubation to help people who have these great ideas to turn them into tangible products and hopefully future businesses.
There's a makerspace in the facility that includes the latest technology like resin and 3D printers. Stephen Blackwood also said there's an emphasis on bioeconomy research around land use, the boreal ecosystem, and forestry.
It's going to have a strong entrepreneurial component. And so, yeah, it's really, it's going to be kind of a tech hub and a place of collaboration.
Now that the center is up and running, Blackwood says they are working on community outreach to get the word out. A website is also under construction, but most of all, he says he's looking forward to welcoming people into the facility. Troy Turner, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Beautiful rusty color. It's all kind of nubbly, I guess from a kind of sort of old way of making things. It's not smooth and beautiful and polished.
I'll talk about an unusual find. Up next, we'll hear from a couple who stumbled across a cannonball while they were out walking.
Well, we have some snow on the way this weekend, mainly for eastern Newfoundland, but we'll talk about that coming up.
Forgot my gloves today, and today was not a day that you want to forget your gloves because it is cold out there.
Yeah. Hat, scarf, gloves. Definitely needed to check all those boxes as you were leaving this afternoon, or this morning, I should say. And again, this afternoon, because temperatures have just been steadily falling, especially here in eastern Newfoundland. Anyway, let's take a look at the daytime highs. So you can see definitely into the minus teens up across Labrador, minus 11 in St. Anthony, and then those temperatures into the minus single digits for most of the island. But note that +1 in St. John's. That was at midnight, and like I said, those temperatures have been dropping because most of today, as of about 6 o'clock, well, as of 6 o'clock in the morning, those temperatures were somewhere between -5 and -9. And you factor in those wind chills, it was significantly colder than that. Right now, still sitting at about -6 with those winds out of the west. Now, taking a look at the change in temperatures over the last 24 hours, a little bit of a drop up across Labrador, sitting right where you were yesterday in Lab City. Same thing for Happy Valley Goose Bay. But take a look at those numbers for the island. Somewhere between 7 and 11 degrees colder than where you were sitting this time yesterday, and about 5 degrees colder in St. Anthony. So definitely locked into this cold air, at least for tonight. -14 is the wind chill at the moment in St. John's, -20 in Gander. Those temperatures cooler, and even still for Corner Brook, feeling more like, or it is -12 right now. Not much of a wind chill for you. And really, up across Labrador, the coldest wind chills are up through northern Labrador, where you're seeing those temperatures into the -18 degree range, and those wind chills feeling more like -32. So as we head through the night tonight, temperatures are going to drop yet again. Most of us sitting in the minus teens. Along the south coast in eastern Newfoundland, you're going to sit into the minus single digits. About -9 overnight tonight, but a really cold night for Lab City at -29. And as far as the wind chill outlook goes for tonight, just take a look at this. So into the -30s as far as Labrador is concerned, -36 for Lab City. And again, overnight tonight, wind chills definitely into the minus teens, but temperatures as we head out the door tomorrow morning or somewhere around there, we'll be sitting between -7 and -11, and those wind chills again fairly chilly, -10 and -12. Not as cold as yesterday, or as this morning rather, but still pretty chilly. Now, as far as the future tracker is concerned, not a whole lot happening tonight, just some cloud cover, really nothing up across the big land either. And then as we head into tomorrow, we'll start to see some of that cloud cover move in, and this is because of a system that is going to skirt south of us. So we should start to see some snow at this point. Still some disagreement. I know I've been saying that for the last 3 days, but there is still some disagreement just as to the track of this system. And with snow and rain and all of that weather, the track is very dependent on what we see. So at this point, it is looking like we'll see some periods of snow for the Burin Peninsula, southern Avalon tomorrow afternoon. Likely creeping a little bit further north into the metro area as we head into the evening hours. And then we'll see the bulk of the precipitation move in overnight and into Saturday morning for eastern Newfoundland. Some areas of southern along the south coast may see that snow as well. But that's pretty much the story. Most of the snow should fall through the day on Saturday. As far as the forecast is concerned for tomorrow, a little bit warmer, a little less wind as well. Temperatures between -3 and -5. As we head towards central Newfoundland, looking at the chance of, or at some sunshine through the day. -3 to -7, warmest along the south coast, and then for the west coast of the island, you're looking at your temperatures into the minus singles digits again with those light winds. Now a little bit more sunshine for the northern peninsula, southeastern Labrador with those temperatures in the minus teens, moderating slightly from today. Lab City will hover around -15. Now, how much snow are we talking about? Well, it looks like by the time we get into Sunday morning, most areas along the Avalon should be talking somewhere between 5 to 10 centimeters. We'll get into the details coming up.
Well, a couple made an unusual discovery while walking their dog in the hills behind Maddox Cove recently. Shelley Bryant, Bernard Martin, and their dog Brigus found what could be an historic treasure in an odd place, a cannonball. They spoke with On The Go host Anthony Germain earlier today. Have a look.
We were walking along. When you keep going on the trail, in a sort of a northerly direction, you'll come to a pond. It's called Miner's Pond. And the trail skirts around the east side of the pond. And just before a little river, just happened to notice a coyote poop on the trail.
Okay.
We've seen lots of them before, so we know what it is. But this one, we just stopped for a second to look at it.
Like you do.
Yeah, like you do. There were fur and bones in it, and I got bent down a little closer to look at it. And lo and behold, right next to it, like inches away, was a round thing, perfectly round, about 2.5 inches in diameter.
Right.
And I immediately thought, that looks like a cannonball.
3/4 or more of it was below the ground. It's 6 pounds on the dot. It's this beautiful rusty color. It's all kind of nubbly, I guess from a old way of making things. It's not smooth and beautiful and polished.
Any idea how old this thing is? You're the history buff, apparently.
Well, I sort of know a little bit of history, but when I discovered this cannonball, I sort of started doing some reading and stuff, and it could date from, d'Iberville's campaign across the Avalon.
Oh, yes.
Which was late 1696. He came through Petty Harbour, and there was a battle, and 36 people were killed, I think. I tried to think of other reasons why there might be a cannonball up by that pond, and I'm still scratching my head, other than the most obvious reason was that it was part of d'Iberville's trail, and it makes perfect sense because it is, if you follow the ridge line all the way from Petty Harbour into St. John's and you stay to the high ground, it's much easier than going through, the valleys and the swamps and the bogs and all that stuff, especially if you have a lot of, soldiers, 124 or whatever it was.
Gear and equipment.
Yeah, gear and equipment and cannons maybe.
Have you spoken to any experts or tried to figure out maybe someone can actually sort of, I don't know what kinds of tests they can put that thing through or?
Not yet. We have a friend that works at the rooms, and he's sending us the contact for the provincial archivist, archaeologist. And so we're going to get in touch with them, and if the province has any interest in it, well, of course it's theirs, right? To have. But if not, it'll sit on the little nest of fishing rope that Bernard made for it. Being a fisherman and all.
I might make something a little more appealing to the eye than the orange twine.
Congratulations. I think are in order for historic find, and I do hope, in all seriousness, that it does end up at the rooms. And I know the archaeologist is listening and rubbing her hands like this right now. Make sure to let us know when the rooms takes a look at it, because it'd be certainly interesting to follow it up to ascertain whether or not this was one of Monsieur d'Iberville's weapons of destruction. Thanks a lot for coming in.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It was fun. Thanks.
Well, it is the big picture question that every student asks themselves. What do I want to be when I grow up?
I'm interested in medicine.
An architectural engineer is what I'm hoping for.
Maybe something in law.
I want to own a business, a restaurant.
Well, there are over 40 different options here at the career fair at Holy Spirit High. Anything from a tattoo artist to an astrophysicist. We'll show you around coming up. Deciding on a career path can be one of the most stressful decisions in a young person's life. Well, today at Holy Spirit High School in CBS, students were exploring more than 40 different options. Professionals in a wide variety of occupations took part in a career fair. Jobs ran the gamut from a neurologist to an astrophysicist to helicopter pilots and police officers, tattoo artists, actors, and museum curators. Have a look.
This is our career fair. Typically it's annual. We haven't been able to have it for the past 2 or so years due to COVID. So this is our first year back. We're getting everything started up again, really exciting. Here today we have about 41 different businesses, occupations here representing what they do. And we give our students a chance to go around, talk to anyone they're interested in, and kind of figure out what they want to do after high school.
The approach we took was what I like to call a shotgun approach. You have a captive audience, the students are here for this school day, and these occupational people make themselves available for this day. So we bring them all together, and it's a bit of a blitzkrieg environment. Over the course of the day, we have approximately 600 students coming through. We hope that students, if nothing else, will hear the stories that these occupational participants have had and get interested in doing more research on what it means to be a tattoo, work in a tattoo company, or be an astrophysicist, or be a museum curator. So it's all out there to explore.
Any science helps. So like I study physics, where I work on astronomy, so I study the physics of stars. Students are really interested in the field and really curious because they know what astronomy and space is, but they don't really know what people do. Like, do we go to space? Are we exploring the moon and all that stuff? And I think students want to know what it is they can do and what they need to learn to go do that stuff. So trying to understand whether you need to have a big math degree or physics degree or how you can contribute. And there's so many ways to contribute that they never even thought of. And so it was great to have a chance to speak to them.
I like the architect guys. They're pretty cool because I kind of want to be an architect, I guess. I also went around, the diesel mechanic and the lawyers. Those are pretty cool, like extra options.
I'm one of the owner-operators of the Collective Tattoo Company Incorporated in Paradise. Turnout with us students are always interested in asking lots of questions, and it's enjoyable. I love educating people around our industry and love seeing people interested in our industry, and they're the next generation of tattoo artists that people are going to see.
Have you seen any budding tattoo artists here today, do you think?
I think I have seen some people with some serious interest in it. Yeah, there's been a few specifically art-oriented students that have come by and asked some really good questions and been very curious about all the equipment that we use.
And you're just speaking with the tattoo artists there. What did you learn from them?
How cool the art is that they are able to do every day, and their oranges that they're tattooing here is really, really cool too. We're just seeing all the different types of opportunities we have out there and just what experiences we can have.
Do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
I'm still not too sure yet, actually.
How about you?
Maybe something in law, maybe?
I'm a partner at O'Day Earl in St. John's.
So you're a lawyer?
I am indeed.
What kind of questions are you getting from students?
Lots of really excellent questions. They're interested in how much you make, primarily. A lot of questions around pay. What do you start at? They want to know how long it takes to become one. So I've been trying to explain the many years after high school that you're going to spend in university and your year of articling and whatnot. But really interesting questions.
Just like helicopter pilots. There's firefighters. Entrepreneurs, news.
I'm the host and producer of CBC Crosstalk. Are you familiar with the program?
Somewhat familiar. You look kind of familiar.
I think we've met before.
Are you getting many people who are interested in going into journalism?
This place, we're no Verifin here. That one's been very busy next door, but I am getting some interest, and it's folks who are really curious about going into media, right? They're coming up and asking us, what does it take to be a photojournalist? What about podcasting? And there's lots of questions like that. So it's been kind of neat of hearing from high school students who are trying to figure out how do you go from high school to get into media, and obviously there's so many different ways. So I'm recommending talking to them about if they're at university or CNA, the Muse, CHMR, lots of different avenues for how to try to get into the industry and to figure out if they like it.
This is one of the hardest decisions anyone's ever faced. I feel like even myself, I still don't know what I want to do. So even just me being here and organizing this today, it's really giving me a better idea of what I want to do after high school.
Zach always growing up. The bigger the game, almost the better he plays.
Well, the man who coached Zach Dean through his minor hockey years is ready to watch tonight's big game. Dean is the only Newfoundlander on Team Canada as it plays for gold tonight at the World Junior Hockey Championships. More on that coming up. Well, it is a big night for hockey fans. They'll be glued to their screens for the World Juniors Hockey Championship. Team Canada will face Czechia in the gold medal game. The Canadians beat the U.S. yesterday 6-2 to clinch the spot. And during that game, the Americans took a 2-0 lead before a remarkable comeback. And Mount Pearl's very own Zach Dean had a beautiful assist on the game-winning goal. Yesterday just so happened to also be Zach's 20th birthday. Earlier today, On The Go host Anthony Germain caught up with Zach's former coach, Mike Lee.
I know Zach since he's been pretty much a young boy, I guess, as you would say. About 7 or 8 years old, I guess. He started coming to a few hockey schools and some travel team stuff, so I've known him for quite a long time now.
And you coached him when?
Mostly in Bantam AAA with the Tricon Thunder. and then also in all the provincials, under 14, 15, and 16, and also Canada Games team.
As a teenager, so what was it like watching the game last night? I mean, here you got the ultimate rivalry, Canada versus the United States, and the guy that he had an assist, a big assist.
Yes, he did. Yeah, beautiful pass under his backhand that he so much likes to use. Lad, he always, I found as a young fellow, always one of the players that can make just as many plays on his backhand as he could on his forehand. He was
and that was
really
that was assist on a big goal too, right?
Yes, made it 3-2. That one did. Yeah.
The go-ahead goal.
Yes, yeah. Right.
Can you imagine how he's feeling knowing that he scored
he
that?
must be, like you said, usually, Newfoundlanders run pretty excited anyways. They're always pretty high-strung, so I'm sure he's excited. Always nice to wear that Team Canada jersey. Gives you that extra bit of oomph, I guess, as you would say. But yeah, I'm definitely sure, Canada going for gold today. I'm sure he's excited and nervous all at the same time.
Well, since you know him, how does he handle pressure? Because going up against the Czech Republic, and it's important to remind people, the Czech Republic, they beat Team Canada early on, right?
In the first game, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I found Zach always growing up, the bigger the game, almost the better he played. So I think that's kind of shown in the last couple of games. I think they've probably been his best two against the Slovaks, and then obviously the Americans last night with that big assist. But Zach was always a big-time player, you know what I mean? You could always trust on him, and when the game was big, it's like he always tried to shine bright, I guess, when the cameras were on and the big game was on.
What's it like for a coach to be watching? I mean, you must, you're a player yourself back in the day, if not now. What does it feel like watching him under this kind of excitement and, this kind of world-level hockey?
Well, it's always good. Like I said, I mean, some kid that you coach, back in Bantam, we also, like I said, we won the Lennox that year. That was pretty big. But obviously, you like to see him do well in everything he does. But honestly, going for gold, I mean, it's pretty exciting to watch him. Like I said, it always makes it more exciting to see a kid from Newfoundland play. Like we've had a nice few now in the last few years with New Hook and Mercer and them. But it gives you a little more sense of pride when you coach this kid. I mean, maybe helps him out a little bit along the way.
What's your prediction?
I think Canada's going to win 5-2.
5-2?
Yeah.
All right, so obviously we're not going to overtime in your mind. Listen, thanks a lot. Enjoy the game and appreciate your time.
All right, thanks. Go, Zach, go.
Well, let's hope he's right. So that big game happens shortly. The Canadians close the tournament against Czechia, and if they do it with a win, they'll be the gold medalists. The CBC's Matt Cullen has this preview.
Going for gold, the Canadians will play in the final game of the tournament against the Czech Republic after beating their arch rival, the United States, in the semifinal last night. It was a relatively nervous start for the Canadians, giving up 2 early first period goals, but the Canadians rallied to score 6 goals in a row to advance to the gold medal game. There was some controversy and anger in this game as well, particularly on the American side, who had 2 goals disallowed in the hockey game. Particular frustration midway through the second period. A goal was called off. That would have tied the game at 3-3. Canadian goalkeeper Thomas Milic was great, making 43 saves. And the 19-year-old from Coquitlam, British Columbia, rose to be an unlikely hero in the tournament. He's the only player on the Canadian roster that was passed over in the last NHL draft. He says the win in the semifinal against the United States is something he'll treasure forever.
It was an incredible experience for me and the rest of the team. I think that was definitely the biggest, probably the best moment in my hockey career, maybe my life as well. So, we're pretty happy with how everything went, and we're gonna have to have a short-term memory.
So Canada will play the Czech Republic in the gold medal game tonight. The Czechs advanced to the gold medal game by beating Sweden in a 2-1 overtime thriller. So that means this is a rematch from the very first game of the tournament when the Czech Republic beat Canada in an upset 5-2. Canada will be going for revenge. Canada will also be going for the second gold medal in a row in this tournament. No country has done that since 2009. Matt Cullen, CBC News, Toronto.
So Team Canada, and as we said, Newfoundland's own Zach Dean will take to the ice shortly. That gold medal match versus Czechia gets underway 7:30 Island time, 7 o'clock in most parts of Labrador. Well, Russia's Vladimir Putin has ordered a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine during this weekend's Orthodox Christmas holiday. Many Ukrainians are dismissing Moscow's move as hypocrisy.
They may not shoot tomorrow specifically, but what difference does it make? It's Christmas, they're not going to shoot tomorrow, so does it make them good Christians? because look what they have done. So no, absolutely, it's an absurd.
The 36-hour truce is set to begin on Friday at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Ukrainian officials say Russia has made similar announcements in the past to buy time to regroup forces and plan more attacks. The U.S. president didn't directly comment on Putin's move, but he called it interesting that Putin was ready to bomb hospitals, nurseries, and churches on December 25th and New Year's. Well, doctors provided an update on Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin today. Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest during an NFL game Monday night against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Now, they say he's showing signs of substantial improvement and able to communicate in writing.
We were in the situation where we wanted to allow him to gradually, wake up as the rest of his body was healing. Last night he was able to emerge and follow commands and even ask who had won the game.
They praised the Buffalo Bills medical staff for recognizing the severity of Hamlin's condition and providing immediate treatment after his collapse on the field. The defensive back remains critically ill on a ventilator and in intensive care in hospital in Cincinnati. Doctors say the next milestone will be getting Hamlin to breathe completely on his own. Well, first, there was a shortage of children's pain medication. Now, pharmacies across the country are reporting shortages of cold and flu medications for adults. And it's happening at a time when respiratory illnesses are surging across the country. The CBC's Susanna De Silva explains why.
The ones that are not available are the cough suppressants.
It's bad enough having a cold or flu, but now you may not get much relief from your pharmacy.
A lot of the products we're looking for are not available, they're on back order, or they just sell out really quickly.
Pharmacist Tina Shaffey says her team never knows what medications they'll get, and what they do isn't always the right fit.
Yeah, it's really tough because a lot of the products that are available are combination products that have a lot of different ingredients in them. And we typically don't want people to take extra medication.
And this store supply isn't that bad compared to even the big chain pharmacies all across the country.
It could be hundreds of products that you're trying to reorder daily with basically on a hope and a prayer that something's going to come to you.
The Ontario Pharmacists Association says demand has soared as COVID measures dropped and colds and flus increased.
I've heard estimates that, on a day-to-day basis now, pharmacy teams are spending, 20 to 25% of their time managing drug shortages.
It's a problem that has been growing for weeks, especially on the heels of a lack of children's medications. Health Canada said drug sellers had not reported any shortages of adult cold and flu medication, but later a statement from the federal health minister said his office is closely monitoring the situation as it is evolving quickly, and they are in discussion with manufacturers here in Canada and abroad. In the meantime, some doctors have had to suggest home remedies for their patients.
People over the age of 1, we can use honey to treat a cough. For decongestion, there are things like saline sprays or nasal steroids, things that you talk about in conjunction with your physician.
And even better, she says, take extra precautions to not get sick at all. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, much of California is facing severe flooding and torrential rain. We'll tell you about it next. Okay, so before we get to our weather, actually the weather in California is just incredible. Large parts of the state remain under the threat of flash flooding after torrential rain last night.
Yeah, and it's just the first of a series of predicted storms, all to hit within a matter of days. Here's Steve Futterman with more.
As you can see, the rains continue to come down here in Southern California, but the area being hardest hit right now is Northern California, especially the San Francisco Bay Area. Overnight, there were some areas that experienced around 12 centimeters of rain coming down. Winds have also been very strong, gusts up to 160 kilometers per hour, and that has caused all sorts of havoc. Power lines have come down. At one point today, around 180,000 customers of electricity companies were without power. We've also had trees coming down. Tragedy also north of San Francisco in the city of Occidental. A downed tree fell on a mobile home, killing a young child. A frantic father called upon fire officials to get the child some help, but it was just too late. We're also hearing stories of mudslides, people trapped in their homes who live near creeks and rivers that are overflowing. And the bad news, even worse than this, is that there's more rain on the way. There'll be a bit of a respite tomorrow and maybe Saturday, but Sunday comes another one of these atmospheric river storms. Then on Monday or Tuesday, a very powerful atmospheric river storm, and that's the one officials are very concerned about. So it's going to be a very, very difficult period for people living in these parts that are getting very hard hit. The hillsides, the grounds just don't have time to dry up. They're already saturated with water, and officials fear this cumulative effect. Rain after rain, storm after storm is going to cause even more problems. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
My goodness, that is just shocking.
It's a lot of rain. You said 12 centimeters, but it's like, put that into perspective, 120 millimeters of rain in a short period of time.
Yeah. It's going to be a story I think we'll be talking about, it sounds like, for a good few days to
Oh, yes,
come.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at our weather because some snow is on the way.
Speaking of centimeters, we're going to see some snow as we head through the overnight starting tomorrow and then continuing through the day on Saturday. So let's time that out. Future Tracker will do a great job of that. There it is. So it'll move in overnight into the morning hours. Looks like, again, depending on the track, we may see some flurries through parts of central, but definitely eastern Newfoundland and along the south coast, including the Burin Peninsula. We'll see that snow through most of tomorrow. It looks like the heaviest snow will fall in the afternoon hours. Just some flurries to start, but in the afternoon things will start to pick up. The winds will be onshore, so northeasterly winds. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, you're looking at the chance of flurries right through the day, pretty much across the board. But as we get into the evening hours, things should clear out, at least taper off. But this is what we're looking at as far as temperatures go. So a bit milder, certainly in the east, hovering around the 0-degree mark for St. John's and along the south coast, Burin Peninsula included. And then for central, northern peninsula, temperatures into the minus single digits and then moderating again slightly up across Labrador. Minus 13 will be the daytime high in Lab City. So as far as snowfall amounts go, showed you this a little bit earlier, but swath of trace to 2 centimeters, shouldn't accumulate too much, but again, depends on the track. South of that, including the Burin Peninsula, 2 to 5 centimeters, and then the Avalon, we're looking at about 5 to 10, including the metro area. The southwest may see the most at this point, between 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. And again, this will fall Thursday through Saturday and then ending Sunday morning. Now, it does look like we will see some more snow on Sunday as another round moves in, likely not accumulating to too much, but we'll see that potential for some flurries along the west coast, northern peninsula, southeastern Labrador through the day on Sunday. And then it'll head further east as we head into the evening hours along the south coast. We may see this mix with some rain at times, and that's again because temperatures may be a bit warmer than this. So at the moment, this is what Sunday is looking like. A little bit of sunshine through central, certainly possible, but into the minus single digits and then minus teens with some sunshine for Labrador. Long range forecast, I do see temperatures climbing up above zero. It looks like by Tuesday, either rain or flurries in the mix. And then for central Newfoundland, we're looking at bit of sun for Sunday, Monday with a chance of flurries, but Tuesday returning and about 3 degrees, a little cooler for western Newfoundland, but gray skies and flurries, the story for you right across the board. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, some sunshine on Sunday, return of those flurries on Monday and Tuesday, and then gray skies and flurries, the story for western Labrador. Temperatures a bit warmer Monday, Tuesday, but still in the minus teens. Take a look at this beauty shot. Nice and calm winter day at Pikes Arm. Leanne shared this great shot with us, and if you have any weather photos, send them to Facebook, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, beautiful. I guess that's how the east is going to look after that snowfall comes down. I'm actually really looking forward to it.
I know.
I feel like it's kind of time now that we
yeah.
get a bit of snow, and it's nice for the dogs too, because the paws and the mud and all of that. So
that's life with dogs.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hope you can be back again tomorrow.
Good night.